Hi, I'm Tom Chick. We're going to play through one of the, I think it's about the 6th scenario in Space Cadet Away missions. Unfortunate acronym, that. The reason we're playing the 5th scenario, it's called, the scenarios are based on planets or parts of the solar system. This one's called Moon. It's fairly early on, but what's significant about this scenario, it's the first one that takes all the training wheels off. There are no caveats in the setup about don't use the schematics or don't use this type of alien. Everything is in the game at this point. It's a relatively easy scenario. I think generally once you know the game, you would probably win it maybe half of the time, maybe more if you're good. We'll see how today goes. But I want to show you this scenario as a way of demonstrating 3 things I really like about the game that will hopefully come up in the course of playing. The first is the way the map evolves. A lot of dungeon crawls, the map is just a matter of where's a door and where isn't there a door, if even that. There's some of that here, but the characters and monsters interact with the map features, which are just walls and doors, in unique ways. So we'll get to see some of that today. The second thing I'd like to show you, the monsters. The monsters have unique AIs. And there are 6 or 7 monsters in the game, each of which has unique implications for what's going to happen when it shows up, for how it's going to behave, for how it's going to interact with the map, which is one example of the way this game's systems neatly fit in with each other and influence and affect each other. The third thing I'd like to show you, in keeping with, so we've got maps, monsters, and in keeping with the letter M, I've come up with an M word for it, merchandise. It's a terrible word. Basically, inventory items. Now, there are 2 kinds of items in the game. There are Rocketeer items, and our characters are called Rocketeers. And at the beginning of a scenario, you choose from a deck of Rocketeer items. You take whatever you want, pretty much. There are very few limitations in terms of your starting loadout. Basically, each character just takes 4 cards. And that I can see, those cards are important, but that I can see as not being super flexible. You'll probably have your favorites, I've certainly got mine, that you will take along on most missions, depending on the scenario objectives. Some items might be more important than others. But the merchandise I'm talking about, the items I want to show you, on each, let's look at the board real quick. On each of these tiles, we're going to scan a tile, it's going to flip over. Each tile has at least 2 markers, one for the aliens that will be found in that tile, and one for alien technology we will discover. These later tiles have additional things on them, which we'll get to shortly. But the merchandise I'm talking about are those alien discovery tiles. Each of those is, it's going to be randomized. You're never entirely sure what you're going to get. And I think the key to doing well in this game, or one of the keys, is optimizing the little doodads that you find along the way as you play. It adds to that sense of discovery, hence the name of the tile. And it gives you more tools to interact with the maps and the monsters. So let's jump into this scenario. We'll see how I do. This is actually my 3rd attempt taping one of these. The other 2 had various disasters befall them, none of which were losing the game, by the way, yet. I didn't even get far enough to win or lose. So here we go. Hopefully 3rd time's a charm. Let's jump in and take the first turn, and I'll just talk about the game mechanics as we go. All right, I've brought along these 4 characters. There are 6 in the game. You are supposed to, I believe the rules specifically say that you randomly choose 4 of them, which is what I've done here, which is a little bit unfortunate because one of my favorite team members, the first mate, is missing. I didn't draw her. She has the power to move other characters, which makes it a lot easier to get through the spaceship or to get through any given scenario. What I've forgotten to do is give each character his or her hit points and oxygen. In a 4-player game, in a 4-character game, everybody starts with 3 oxygen. They have variable amounts of hit points. The oxygen is It fulfills the role that sanity might fulfill in a horror game. You can use oxygen to exert yourself and do an additional action on any given turn, but also a lot of the monsters will force you to lose a point of oxygen. There's an event forces everyone to lose a point of oxygen. If ever you lose your last point of oxygen, you have died and the scenario is over. This is one of those games that doesn't want to make, in a multiplayer game, that doesn't want to make anyone sit out while everyone finishes playing. Once someone dies, everybody loses. All the characters have 3 action points. Some of them have action points that are specified as non-combat. One of the other Rocketeers that we didn't get is First Chief, his name is Lance DeSoto, I think is his name. One of his action points is combat only. So he's basically a guy that runs around shooting a gun. So we don't have the chief, we don't have the first mate. Did I call him First Chief? He might be only chief. But we do have, and this has been problematic on previous playthroughs, we do have Dr. Garcia, who is hugely important in terms of keeping everybody alive. If you don't have Dr. Garcia, you tend to have to use some of your inventory items for healing. We didn't really need that. Oh, sorry, this is Dr. Garcia. Excuse me, Professor Pelham, I didn't mean to. I just did a he's Hudson, sir, I'm Hicks. And even I got that backwards thing with these two guys. Here's Dr. Garcia, and he's got along a whole bunch of medical stuff. You can see he's loaded out with, you can shoot up drugs, he's got this scalpel, and he's got a couple of variations on the med kit. So he's going to keep everyone in health. The commander, who's also a favorite of mine, he has the special ability to confer to each of the other Rocketeers, at his discretion, these special action points that can be used anytime, even out of turn. Somebody can jump in. It's kind of an interrupt to use one of these. So he'll be passing these around, hopefully handing them out like candy. I love when these are part of the game. So you have these little tokens here for turns 1 through 4. When someone is going to take a turn, which Dr. Garcia is going to do now, you put this here. And then the mandatory part of each turn is to scan a tile, basically flip a tile over and resolve its tokens. You have to scan the one that's closest to you. When there are 3 equidistant, as is the case here, we can choose which one to scan. Okay. You don't get a choice in terms of the facing of the tiles. All the arrows have to point in the same direction. So there's a hatch closing us off here. It won't be easy to step into. It'll take an action to open the hatch. And there's a sentinel behind the hatch. Now here's where a hatch can be good news or bad news. A sentinel is the kind of creature that cannot walk through a hatch. They're not very bright. They don't know how to open doors. And fortunately right now it can't get to us. There's also a grav wave manipulator, which is an awesome item that interacts with it, lets you move things on the map, figures or items, and where an item or a character or a monster is positioned, as you can imagine, is a very important part of the game. So we have now scanned with Dr. Garcia. He has 3 actions, one of which must be non-combat. I feel like it might be safe to open the hatch and walk in there and use the scalpel to try to get a blood sample from the sentinel. And that will allow people to shoot at the sentinel. Whatever appears here is also similarly blocked, and maybe vice versa, it might be blocked from attacking us. So we are going to have Dr. Garcia open this hatch right here. It stays open for the remainder of the turn. He's going to move into the space with the sentinel. And one reason this is important is during the monster phase, the sentinel would then move to the closest character. And when a sentinel enters your tile, he jump scares you, and you lose, everybody in the tile loses a point of oxygen. We don't want that to happen. So the doctor is kindly tanking for us. Except he's not really. You'll see why shortly. And he's going to use his air knife, which can only be used in the local hex, the local tile. And you roll 3 dice for an air knife. These are 10-sided dice. As you can see, a 1, 2, and a 3 is a hit. We got 2 hits, except they're not 2 hits, actually. The first success is a hit. The second success is an overkill. The hit will do a point of damage to the sentinel. We will represent that by giving him a little red damage token. The overkill can be one of three things based on who attacked, what he attacked with, and what he attacked. Each of those three elements of the equation of attacking something has a unique overkill option that can be used for each hit, each successful roll beyond the first. Actually, they're not called hits. There's a distinction between hits and overkills. So we got two successes. The first is a hit. The second is an overkill. We have three things we can do with it. Let's figure out which one we'll do. So Dr. Garcia can't heal anyway. I mean, there's no point healing. Nobody's hurt. He doesn't, let me see, we could overkill, extract, collect alien blood. We could take additional alien blood. Oh, which let me take my first alien blood, which actually I'm not sure I want to do. We need this blood for schematics, alien schematics. The goal of this scenario is to complete 2 schematics and rescue 2 thralls. But you know what, if we go ahead and use that overkill, you know, we're going to go ahead and do that, and then get the knife out of the way. The doctor now is completely freed up to heal. There we now have 2 blood. We also could have staggered the sentinel so that he hits back less hard, but hopefully we'll kill him with these other Rocketeers here. Oh, by the way, when the doctor enters the tile, he picks up the grav wave generator, which we will put. Where is my grav wave generator? Oh, it's right here in front of me. Which he will put into play right here with 2 charges. Oh, I've also forgotten to give everyone their charges. We have 1 use of a stun pellet, 1 use of a demo charge, 1 use of an accelerator hypo, 2 uses of the grav wave generator, 3 uses of the reference book. The tape recorder works differently, you'll see that shortly, and 1 use of this flag. So the doctor's turn is now over, and we decide who's going to go second. This is important because when monsters attack, if there are multiple Rocketeers that they could attack at equal distances, they always attack the one who went last, who has the 4. Barring that, they'll attack the 3 or the 2. So we want basically our tank, which is generally going to be Captain Riggs or Yeoman Hannah, to go last. Now, in this case, I actually am going to save the professor for a moment, and I'm going to have Yeoman Hannah go next. First thing she must do is scan a tile. Let's have a look at what's over here. Okay, it is an open passage. And in this open passage, there are 2 saucermen and a bug. And the bug is where I want to get into some of the unique distinctions amongst the creatures. When you flip a tile, you spawn the creatures in that tile. Bugs are an exception. A bug will always spawn at the closest air vent to the active character. So the bug spawns here. On the ground in this room, there is a replicator. Okay, I could use that to duplicate any resource like blood or wire, or I think even Mysterium. +1 of any 1 carried component, blood, Mysterium, or wire. All right, that'll make it easier to finish schematics. Now, for Yeoman Hannah's turn, there she's scanned, her non-combat action will be nothing at this point. She will fire her atomic rifle, which when firing to an adjacent hex rolls 5 dice, at one of the saucermen. That is 1 hit, 1 overkill. So the first hit kills a saucerman. The overkill can be used for one of 3 things. It can dislodge, which means to move an alien 1 tile. Yeoman Hannah can stun someone, that's her unique ability, and because she has this item unique to her called a soft focus lens, normally she can only stun someone in the same tile. With a soft focus lens, she can stun anyone in line of sight. And the alien thrall also will let us stun another alien or alien leader. Excuse me, another saucer man or alien leader. In this case, we're just going to use it to stun this fellow. For her second turn, she will, actually I don't know why I didn't do this first, she will shoot the sentinel. And there we have 2 hits. We will apply 1 hit, And you'll note the stun cannot be applied to something with more than 1 hit point. A Sentinel has 4 hit points. With its 2 points of damage, it is now down to 2 hit points. And for her non-combat action, I think Cookie will advance here. And she will pick up the replicator. The game is really flexible in terms of letting you trade items with another character. It is a free action. As long as it is your phase, you can freely exchange items with someone. So Cookie can carry this around and then give it later to someone who can use it. It has 2 charges on it. Oh, and that was Cookie's non-combat action. Attack the Thrall, attack the Sentinel, walk into the tile. Cookie is now done, and we decide our third player. So our third player is going to be Professor Pelham. His unique ability is to manipulate these hatches. Whenever he rolls an overkill, he can use it to open or close any hatch anywhere. And I say to close, lock any hatch anywhere, where an alien can't even open it. So first he has to scan. He will scan this tile here, which he has to do because it is the closest tile. It is wide open up here, but these sides are closed off with a hatch. Located in this tile is a Saucer Man, a Thrall, and one of the objectives in this game is to rescue 2 Thralls. Right now, all Thralls are what are called War Thralls. Now, a War Thrall is more powerful than a regular vanilla non-War Thrall. Furthermore, you cannot rescue a War Thrall. You can only disable it. So since our goal is to rescue 2 Thralls, we have to figure out how to turn all War Thralls into regular vanilla non-War Thralls. And we actually know how that's going to happen. Here on the map, these tile markers, these 3 here, one of them is the Thrall control. Now there's a reason that this is left out instead of just shuffled with 2 other tiles and then randomly placed. And it has to do with these tile markers. I'll show you that soon. It's a little cutesy. You don't have to do it that way, but we're going to. The Thrall control, when a Rocketeer moves in here and there are no unstunned aliens, and the Rocketeer uses an action point, he or she turns off Thrall control. At which point, all War Thralls become non-War Thralls, and now we can rescue them. So one of the first objectives in this game, to rescue 2 Thralls, is to find the Thrall control. We know it's one of these hexes. Along the way, we also have to research 2 alien schematics, and then finally reach the elevator, which is one of these 3 tiles, to exfiltrate this saucer. This is an alien saucer, in case I didn't point that out. All right, lying on the ground. Oh, and we also have a leech. Leeches are gross, but they're kind of fun. We'll see why. Lying on the ground is the strangely glowing orb, which I think just gives you an additional point of intellect, which will be very helpful in terms of rescuing War Thralls and rescuing regular Thralls and researching schematics. All right, so the professor is taking his turn. He has scanned. For his non-combat action, well, let's see. He's going to go ahead first and shoot at the Sentinel, so we know how much Captain Riggs has left to deal with. It's an atomic rifle. It's 5 dice for an adjacent tile. The hatch is open, and there's 1 hit and 1 overkill. So we will apply the hit by putting a 3rd point of damage on the Thrall. Sorry, on the Sentinel. And the overkill, again, there are 3 ways to spend an overkill, but Professor Russell, because he's carrying a tape recorder, oh shoot, we can only use non-combat overkills. The tape recorder can store an overkill, but only if they're used for non-combat. So Professor Russell can open or lock a hatch with his overkill. We can stagger the Sentinel, or using the atomic rifle, we can move 1 alien 1 space. I think what we will do, it seems like a bit of a waste to stagger the Sentinel, but there's nowhere to move anyone. If we lock this hatch, the thrall and the leech can't get through it. I mean, they can't open it anyway. This guy has to open the hatch. He can psychically open it to fire into here, although he'll be shooting at Captain Riggs. Well, it's kind of a wasted overkill, so I guess we'll stagger the Sentinel. Each stagger means the Sentinel rolls 2 fewer dice. A Sentinel rolls 6 attack dice. So this guy only rolls 4. Presumably he'll be dead. Okay, the Professor's second action. I guess finish off the Sentinel. Seems a bit much. In which case now I wished I'd opened this. I am going to open this. Instead of staggering the Sentinel, the overkill is going to be used opening this hatch, which, am I going to regret that? I'm assuming that Captain Riggs can take care of the leech, because the leech can move and attack in 1 turn. I'm going to feel really dumb if I can't. So now the Professor is going to shoot a second time at the Sentinel. 1 success. Finishes off the Sentinel. That's a 4th point of damage. And for his non-combat action, he will move into this room here and pick up the strangely glowing orb, which makes the Professor by far the smartest guy on this expedition. His IQ is 5, he gets +1 for the orb, he can use charges from his reference book to add +1. So the Professor is going to be our thrall rescuing, alien schematic researching machine. So that is his turn. Now to make sure that this space leech doesn't come back to bite us literally, Captain Riggs will go first. He can scan any tile within, the closest tiles are all 2 tiles away, so any one of these is a candidate. We're going to hope one of these, we know one of these is the thrall control. Let's bank on this one. So that's where these tile markers come in play. The marker means there's some reason that we think the thrall control is here. That reason is because of swirling lights. So each of these tile markers has some little thematic reason that you thought something was there. So they were just swirling lights, they were not a thrall control. We are scanning this tile. It is completely wide open. It has an air vent where bugs can spawn. And in this tile, there is a saucer man, a thrall, and a bug. Here's a saucer man. Here is a thrall, currently a war thrall. And the bug, if you recall, spawns in the space closest to the active character, which is back down here. And lying on the ground is some Mysterium, which is a resource we can use to recharge alien technology, and we'll need it probably to research alien schematics. Captain Riggs has scanned. He is now going to fire his... Actually, I forgot. He was carrying the gun, the ray gun. He's carrying a ray gun and a holster instead of an atomic rifle. So he's going to use 1 action point to step forward, 1 action point to shoot the ray gun. To shoot the ray gun at the leech. We don't want that leech alive. Leeches can multiply suddenly and overwhelm you, and then suddenly you're dead. We don't want that to happen. So the ray gun shoots 5. Is it 5 in the local hex? Yes, the ray gun shoots 5 in the tile that you are currently in. And then the holster adds +1 to your first shot with the ray gun every turn. So let's roll 6 dice. 5 and 6. Here we are shooting at the leech. Any overkills for Captain Riggs are awesome, which is the reason he's carrying the ray gun with the holster, is I love rolling 6 dice for him. We have 1 hit success, we have 3 successes. The first will kill the leech. The ray gun's overkill ability is for the character to move. We could move forward where that Mysterium is, but no, right now we're adjacent to wherever the thrall control will be. The second ability is when you kill a leech is to what? Shoot another leech? Yeah, the second ability, and here's a little, these are the cards here that show you all the stats for any given creature. The second ability is to shoot another leech. There isn't another leech, so we won't be doing that overkill ability. And the third overkill ability, which we will be doing because Captain Riggs is great at this, we can give one of these unique command action points to any other character, and then that character can take an action. So let's give Yeoman Hannah an action. Now we can save this, we can use it as an interrupt, it's super flexible. And then let's give, I guess, the Professor one. And I don't think there's any reason really to use them. Captain Riggs has one more attack here he can use on this thrall, presumably. I'm sorry, on this saucerman. We're going to leave these thralls alone until we turn off the thrall control and can then rescue them. You know, it's one fewer thing that can attack us, so let's go ahead and use Yeoman Hannah's command action point to kill one of the other thralls. So we slide this over here. She can fire, she rolls 5 dice at an adjacent tile or 2 tiles away with her atomic rifle. I'll go ahead and shoot at this fella here. So 5 dice, her ability to sway will let her stun other aliens. Actually, maybe, yeah, no, we're shooting at the thrall. That is 1 hit, so it kills the saucerman. Keep confusing saucermen and thralls because look how similar they look. But what I've done, I don't know if you can tell here, is I've I've used a marker to draw a little stripe on his head and to draw a black stripe around the base. That's to distinguish them from the saucermen. So the saucerman is killed. She's used that. Professor Russell, hang on to your command action point. And then Captain Riggs is using his final action point to... You know what? I'm going to back up. So the rule I tend to have about backing up and redoing stuff is as long as no new information has been revealed, feel free to back up. However, at this point, new information was revealed, and namely that is the outcome of Yeoman Hannah's die roll. So we're going to stick with what we've done. Captain Riggs will, rather than waste an attack for only 3 dice, he's going to, once a turn, you can use an action point to just fire off your overkill ability. So he's going to give a command action point to Dr. Garcia to just bank. And then he's going to end his turn. So now we go to the monster, or the alien phase. They will act in order of sentience. The smarter aliens go before the dumber ones. And these cards show you the sequence. So normally during the monster phase, you just go through the cards. It's almost like roll call. Is there a brain in a jar? Anyone? Is there a leader? Is there a saucerman? It's like playing Citadels. So looking at the map, we don't have many aliens to deal with, but I know that saucermen are the smartest currently. So this saucerman will fire. He could fire at any of these 3. His range is 1. He rolls 2 dice. He prefers the character who went last. So we see that Captain Riggs has a 4. So there's 1 2-dice shot. Neither hits. He did get doubles though. If this was Monopoly, he'd re-roll. So my little interface mod is then turn him away from the characters when he's done. This guy is stunned, he will do nothing. Not quite as dumb as the bugs, but still pretty dumb, are the thralls. They cannot move and attack. Actually, let me make sure. A war thrall might be an exception. A war thrall cannot move and attack in the same turn. So this war thrall moves towards, again, he prefers Captain Riggs. Well, this war thrall will attack Captain Riggs with 3 dice. So... does a war thrall have an overkill ability? I think it's grapple, which will mean overkill. The target Rocketeer can't leave the tile by spending an action point for a move action, meaning he can be moved with, say, a grav wave generator. But no hits on the war thrall's part. And then finally, these little bugs. These bugs are weird. The number of bugs, first of all, they like to form a swarm. If the bugs were separated, the first thing they would do is move together. But since these guys are already a swarm, all the bugs on the map are in one place, they're going to move, and each move will use one action point. The number of action points the swarm has is equal to the number of bugs. So they're going to move, which uses one action point, and then use the remaining action point to attack. Their target is Captain Riggs, because he went last. So the bugs scurry into this hex. Their remaining action point, which is just one die, is used to try to bite Captain Riggs, and they miss. And that is all the aliens. So we now do a cleanup phase, and then we'll go back to the Rocketeer turns. One of the first things that happens, is all hatches revert to their previous state. So these slide closed. All stunned aliens stand up. All of these action points are reset. So actually these are the command action points that are exhausted go back to Captain Riggs. These are all reset. And the number tokens are put back. And now on to turn 2.